So in this final video in this module, we're going to show you the block scheduler. So the block scheduler is the most powerful of our schedulers because it can do everything pretty much a block can do, whether that's field parameters, rules, um, everything basically. All the settings you can apply, the features like mail alerts. So what it can basically do is imitate as if a person was sitting on the front of the computer doing the same thing. So I'm going to start with a very basic example. Let's just create a field. I'm going to say field 1, my default value. And what we'll do is we'll go down to our block scheduler. And what we'll do is we'll select create new record. So this is going to schedule for a record to be created, and I've selected 5 minutes frequency. Now for the purpose of this training video, I have set the 5-minute interval to be 1 minute. So for me, it's going to be every minute, but for everyone else, it's 5-minute interval. And I've set the user that's going to create the record. So you have to associate a user with the scheduler, otherwise it won't work. And then I'm going to click apply block initialization values. So what this does is anything that generates values by themselves will get applied. So in this case, it's a default value that I set, so that's going to get applied. Auto generates anything else that you know that's in a block, that usually when you open the block, the data appears by itself. So what we'll do is we'll pause the video for a minute or two and we'll have a look at some records that are getting generated by themselves. So I just paused the video and now I'm back, and now we can see the 2 records were created and you can see the timestamps there. And that's the most basic version of a scheduler. So now this is creating a record every minute and it's setting this default value. So let's begin to play with this a bit and we'll start getting a bit more advanced. We'll keep that scheduler on, but we'll just start doing more things. So let's do an auto generate field, and we'll say we'll put in the date, and we might put in a second. Let's say second is this one, and we'll just put in the counter. We'll just do a basic one, just 0, 1. And we'd save this. And now as I go back to the front end of the block, we can see another value is created. Obviously these ones haven't been, these were created before we added the auto generate field. So that's not going to be applicable. But what we'll do is we'll pause the video again and we'll keep coming back and let's have a look at the records that are getting generated. Thank you. So I'm back after that first minute, and you can see there it generated the value. A little bit confusing here. This was the second 02 and then I put the counter after that. I probably should have put a space so we could see the difference. I'll do that now. We just say second counter is let's go back. So this was created just before I saved the new version. So we leave that just for now because we can come back to that and check that value. Next thing I'll do is some maths, just as a proof of concept of the maths. So firstly, I'll create some fields that are going to be part of that maths field. So let's say maths value 1. And we give it a value of 4. And maths value 2, we give this a value of 8. And now we'll do a maths field. Maths output. And we'll say it's this one plus this one. So as you can see, things are being created as I go along. What I might just do is delete the data to avoid any confusion. We're obviously going to have empty values. The fields didn't exist at the time. So this, like I said, the scheduler is just like as if we're submitting. There's no difference, and that's the entire purpose. So I can see we've got to the next minute there, so I'll just refresh again. So in this case, it correctly set the default values, the auto-generate, the maths, and then when the maths output. So now what I'll do is I'll start to get a bit more advanced on this. And what we will do is, firstly, I'm going to allow us to see more fields because we're going to be continuing to add more and more fields. Let's say 12, and I'll make this full width. And we will just put all these to in their own column. So we can make a new column here. So now what I'll do is, let's do a rule. So we'll say part of field 1. And I'll put a rule onto this field, the field 1. And we'll say populate local field with part of this field. So you should be aware of how this rule works now. So we will just create the rule without getting too into it. And we'll say this, the sample string is my default, and then so we're gonna pull these last 5 characters, and the local field we're going to populate is part of field 1. So let's submit that rule, and we go back to the front end again, and we'll start looking at the records. And obviously this record was created before we got to the next minute, or before, yeah, this field was created. So we'll just pause again and we'll come back after a minute. So I'm back now, and as you can see, that rule got it successfully applied. So I had the rule on field 1, populate part of the field, and I instructed it to extract this part of the field. And as you can see, that's appearing here. So now we'll go even more advanced. Let's set up a cross block. So we're going to have to create another block for this. And let's just say result of maths field. So this is just going to be a simple block, no scheduler, that has a result of maths field. We go back to block 1. And I'm going to do something here that can just give us a bit of random data. I'm going to change this maths value 1 to an auto generate of the current second. And the reason I'm doing that is that we'll have a different number every time. So it'll be anything from 1 to 60 or 1 to 59. So for instance, as you can see, 0, 6 plus 8 is 14. So this has been working away by itself, as you can see. It must have been just a coincidence that as soon as I created the field, this record got created. So next I'm going to do a cross block. Let's send this maths output to another block. So we'll say send to the other block. And we'll say cross block. Select, we want to create a new record. Choose when the action happens, when the form submits. Now the scheduler basically ignores this. So it happens anyway when you would set to a scheduler. We won't do any conditions. And what we'll do is just we're going to say the maths output will go to the result of the maths field. Press submit. That won't work by itself until we start turning on more scheduler options. So now I'm going to turn on everything, apply all our rules and field actions, and apply the submit data features. So I just realized my idea of using the second isn't really going to work because it's going to be the same second for every record. It never dawned on me that this won't change because it runs every minute, so it runs at the exact same time. And that's why we're seeing the 2 seconds. It's obviously happening like immediately within the 2 seconds. So we'll have to come up with a different way of getting some kind of random number. We'll use the minute instead. So I'll go back to the auto generate field because that minute is going to go up by 1 every time. And what I'm going to do is use this link to figure out what is the actual syntax to pull out a minute. So I'll do a search in the browser for minute. And this is the one, I. It's a small I. So that'll go up by 1 every time. So as you see, 48 plus 8 is 56. Because these records are just creating away. So I'll pause the video for a minute or two and we'll check out some records after that. So we now have the scheduler running and we can see that the first record we created was 53. That was the minute. Added 8, that's 61 is the output, and we have an instruction to send that information to the other block, which is here, and now we can see the first record has been created in the cross block. So as you can see, we've now set up the scheduler to completely become fully dynamic. It's send data in other places, all sorts of things like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is show you a mail alert. So I'll just create a very quick one. Test, test. Again, some of these options will likely be gone by the time you are using this. Test alert. Recipient by user. We'll send it to Mailinator. I just double check that one. It was Adrian test. Open another tab. So we're obviously not going to have anything yet. And we'll go back to our block. So the time as I'm recording this video right now is 55 minutes. So I'm going to create a mail alert field. Send at 57 minutes. So choose the alert you want to send. We don't have to run this on a schedule. So this schedule works independently of the block scheduler. But we will set some conditions. We'll say all conditions must be met, and we'll say math field 1 must equal 57. So that's the next minute. So I'll quickly save this before I run out of time because it's now 56. So what I'll do is I will pause the video until we get to 58 and we'll show how we got an email for 57 but we didn't get it for 58 because the condition is that it has to be 57. So we're now back and the next minute has come and it's now 57 and that's, we'll go to Mailinator and we got our email. So we'll just do one more pause just to make sure that that email doesn't come in again. It won't come in until the next hour at 57. So we're now back and we have 58 and we didn't get any email as expected. And of course the other parts of the scheduler are still working. We have our cross block values coming in here from the maths field. We have the mail alert set up. We've got the auto generate, the rules, everything. And that's the fundamental idea behind the scheduler, is that you can do anything that you'd otherwise be doing in a block. So I'm going to create a new one, and what we'll do for the new one is we'll loop through records instead. I'm going to turn off this one first. So to turn it off, just go no schedule. And that way then you, if you do change your mind, you can come back to it, but at least you know now it's not running. But one thing I'll quickly show you actually before I turn it off, you can see that schedule is available here, schedules and automations. So block scheduler data, and that's every 5 minutes. And it gives you the module name and the block name. We'll probably be doing updates in the future where maybe that'll click right through to the actual block for easier access. Next thing we'll do is turn this off again. There is a small issue where it still appears in the list of schedules, which is fine. Might be what someone might want, but we're going to add a status or something where it'll say disabled. And that way then you know which ones are on and off, because at the moment they all look on, whether it's turned on or off. So next one we'll do is a schedule where we loop through existing records as opposed to creating ones. So let's say stock list. And let's just say part number. Say days in stock. And then what we'll say is too long. I will just say status. And we'll do some colors with that, which I'll show you in a minute now where we're going. So I'm going to go to data display settings and we'll say in stock too long. and we make that red. We'll just say OK, it will be green. So we have our two colors there. And then what I will say is we'll put a rule here, days in stock must be between two values. So it must be greater than 0, we'll say, and must be less than value 30. And then we'll populate the status. So if the rule passes, the status, we'll say OK. And if it fails, I'll just have to go back to remind myself what actual color I set for the value, or what value I set for the color. In stock too long, and it was all capitals. So in stock too long. That's if the rule fails. And we'll just add a record first before doing any schedule, just to make sure it's working. So it's a part 001. And we'll say 25. OK. Part 001. Say 35. Well, actually, I have a rule on that, so I won't be able to submit it. I have a red warning. I should really put a yellow warning. That'll allow me to at least submit it then. So I'm just editing the rule and saying yellow warning accept. Part 001, 35. Yep, we can carry on. Confirm submit. I'll just change this one. I used the same one by accident. And we'll just do one more. 20. That is okay. So what we want to try and do is manipulate these, but not in this form, because I don't want to trigger the rules here. I want to demonstrate that how if these change themselves, then we can run a scheduler to run through them and check them all so we can update these values. So the first thing I'm going to do is do the scheduler. So we're down to the block scheduler. The last one I showed you was create new record. This time I'm going to show you work through existing records. And we'll go with 5 minutes again, but like I said, my one is working based on the minute. We'll apply everything, and we'll say it's myself as the user. So this is now going to go through every record and apply the exact rules that I just did as if I was editing. So it's going to imitate me doing this basically, and checking the rule and then saying that's okay. And we'll check this one and we'll say that's not okay, but we're allowed to submit anyway in this case. So that schedule is now turned on. Nothing's going to happen here because these values are not changing. And I don't want to change them here for the purpose of this video, because it defeats the purpose, because it's going to update the value when I'm changing it, whereas I want to show you how it updates automatically. So for that reason, I'm going to use manage data, and I'm going to update the value independently of this block in a place where the rules are never changed. So let's go look up edit data, and I'm going to search for part 003. And we have it here, module schedule demo. So if I go here and update the value, then it doesn't apply any rules. We can keep this status. So there's a small bug there where it's suggesting to delete the record, but our new version actually doesn't have that anymore, so you won't see that. So now when I refresh here, So that still says okay, which is what we expected because I only changed the value from an external source, so I didn't trigger any rules or anything like that. But I'm going to pause it now and we'll wait for the next minute and we'll see that the scheduler looped through each record and it checked this itself. So we'll wait for that now. So we're now on to the next minute and we have now a value updated and it did it completely by itself without me having to do anything. All I had to do is refresh the page. So I guess when you think about the use case for this days in stock, as I showed you in previous videos in this module about using our dynamic data updater, there's plenty of ways now you could figure out how you want to figure out the days in stock. So that's the application to this. So we'll just do one more thing just to show the kind of application that might happen. Let's set up the mail alert again. We'll use the same mail alert. Well, I'll just change the value to make it kind of more obvious that just say you have too much stock. Please check your stock list. Or sorry, you've stock being held for too long. Please check your stock list. And I'm going to go back to the block. I'll create a mail alert field. Firstly, I just want to check that value one more time. I keep forgetting it. It's in stock too long. I'll copy and paste this because I want to set up a condition. So mail alert field. And the alert we want to send is the one I just did there, test. We don't have to use the condition here because the scheduler is already running. So all we want to do is set the, sorry, I meant we don't have to use the run on schedule, but we do want to set the condition. We'll say status condition must equal in stock too long. And I press submit. And I go back to the front end. So now because we've it's going to loop through each record. It's going to check, does it say in stock too long? If it does, we're going to send an email. So I'll just pause the video until for the next minute and we should get 2 emails into our mailinator. So now I'm back and we go to the mailinator. Now we've actually got a lot more because I paused the video for a little longer than I expected. So we were getting them every minute. So there's 2, 2, 2, 2. So as you can see, that's how the scheduler works for looping through records. What I'll do is I'll just turn off the mail alert field, or get rid of it just to not be receiving mails all the time. And I just want to do one other thing, which is one more rule. So let's say part description. Let's pretend we don't have this information. So now when I open up the block, it's all going to be NAs for the part description. And I'm going to say part details in a different block. So I'm just checking what parts we have. We have part 0, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to pull the information from this block in the scheduler. Oops. Let's say part number. So we'll just add these records. We'll say the description for the first part. And 002. This is the second part. part 003, and the third part. So on its own there, that's not going to do anything. And currently nothing's going to happen in the stock list either. But let's do one more rule. So part number, I would say populate local field with data from elsewhere. So block to look up is part details. Data required is the part description. And we're going to match it using the part number. So part number must equal part number. Oh yeah, I forgot to select the field that we're actually going to populate. So part description. So now we go back to the front end. Okay, so it's possible just as I created that rule, the minute just ticked over. So I didn't even get a chance to show the NAs. So it worked basically. So every minute, this is going to update the descriptions with the parts. What I'll do is I'll just change one just for the sake of the demo. So we go back to our, kind of jumping around here, I'll go back to our part details. Let's just say new description for part 3. We go back here and we refresh. We shouldn't see anything. So what I'll do is I can just see as I was recording this video, we've gone over to the next minute. So if I refresh, we should see the new description because that rule is being applied and it's being automatically pulling the new description. There we are, new description for part 003. So again, these schedulers for me are running for every minute, but they're not supposed to be every minute in reality. They're supposed to be on these time frames. It's worth noting as well, there's still some work in progress on our side for the scheduler, so we are looking at constantly improving it. We're also looking at maybe restricting some of the time frames, and that's due to the unexpected load we were getting from the amount of requests that are being made for people that are doing 5-minute ones. So what you see in this video might be slightly changed in the future, or by the time you're doing this training course, things might look a bit different, but the same principles will definitely apply. It's just some of the options may be gone, or some of these options may be a bit more restricted. I was actually in the wrong one there as I was showing it. It's the working through existing record. That was the one for the other block. Apologies for that. I'll just to avoid confusion, I'll go to this one to show you, because that one was the one that was working through each record. Yeah, so like I'm saying, things might change in the future and we might have maybe a few more restrictions or more options as well. So that's the block scheduler, which is probably our most powerful feature. So in the next video, or in the next module, we're just going to be looking at setting up some charts. Thanks, goodbye.